is the Google Pixel 4 in 2022. Is it still worth it? Let's get right into it. We're gonna talk about the screen first. This screen has a huge bezel. When I'm using it day to day, bezel kind of fades away, just like Alan Walker's song. Let's talk about the actual screen itself. This is an OLED panel, a 90 Hz one. It is around 444 nits of peak brightness, which in my opinion is extremely dim. I don't think you could be able to see the majority of things, especially in broad daylight. Most phones these days come at least with 800 nits of peak brightness because they expect you to be using your phone outside of your house. Wow. And even inside my house, it is extremely dim. I can feel it. My phone has a peak brightness of 1300 nits, but it uses around 800 on the daily. 400 nits makes a difference. Let's talk about facial recognition. This is how fast the facial recognition works. Pretty fast. Let's talk about the specs. This particular device has a Snapdragon 855. That is quite old. The 855 came before the Snapdragon 8 Plus Gen 1, then the Snapdragon 8 Gen 1, and then the Snapdragon 865 Plus, and the Snapdragon 865, and then the Snapdragon 855 Plus, and then the Snapdragon 855. And those are all the flagship chips. Yeah, quite old. Some loading times are quite slow, but if you haven't been spoiled with the new chips, you'll probably be fine on this. This comes with around 6 gigs of RAM, adequate in my opinion, $300-ish. I think that's totally fine. But one thing that is not totally amazing is it only comes with a max storage of 128 gigs. That is way too little. The cameras, right? Pixel. This has a 12 megapixel normal wide sensor. It has a 16 megapixel telephoto, which basically is 2 times optical zoom, and then it has an 8 megapixel selfie camera. I'll have the photos up on the display, and you can probably tell how pixelated it looks. If you just zoom in just a little bit, very soft. 12 megapixels is not enough pixels to capture what the average person needs to capture these days. Okay, so right now I am hand stabilizing this right now. It's kind of stable, to be honest. I'm moving this a lot. Something similar to walking, and this is like you're crazy. Optical zoom into this guy's face. If you have a phone, tell me what it is. And if you have a Google Pixel phone, tell me what it is twice in the comments below. Why not? The actual telephoto looks way better than the main camera. And this is actually the first time Google decided to put a dual lens on their device. This kind of looks like a quad or even triple the quad lens, but no, it's only dual lens. Take a look at the selfie camera. It's a big disappointment. 8 megapixels, way too little. These days, flagship phones have around 20 megapixels, and even the mid-tier level has 12 megapixels at least. As you can tell, very stable. I really like that. You can kind of hear the gyroscope. Let's take a look at the speakers. This has a stereo setup, by the way. This is max volume. The bottom firing speaker is way louder than the front firing speaker. Fine for phone speakers. Okay, let's do the actual motion gesture. Quite nice, they improved it. Let's try to swipe. The actual percentage of swiping and stuff, it's not the greatest. Hello? Try to see that one more time. Giving it a chance. There you go. I tried to pause it and it went forward. It's kind of the nature of this phone, a little bit janky. The battery life. So the battery life on this phone has been slowly depleting when I've used it. I think I started this video at around 35-ish%. It's at 33%, and I haven't done very much with it. As you can tell, I've only been using it for the duration of this video, so not very good battery life. Why? Because of this gigantic sensor basically suck up your battery. It's sucking up the battery that is very minimal. This battery is 2,800 milliamp hour battery. This Pixel 4a has a bigger 3,100 milliamp hour battery. The back of the device has a Gorilla Glass 5 back and a Gorilla Glass 5 front, and it also has an aluminum rail on the sides. It's pretty nice. It's kind of lightweight, but not cheap feeling. IP68 water and dust resistance. You don't have to worry about dropping this in a pool. So my verdict of this phone is that, well, although it does have some very nice features like press and hold, which are very nostalgic features for the Google Assistant, I don't think it's worth it because you're losing out on 3 main things in particular. Number 1 thing is battery. The battery is way too tiny. The second problem is the OS. So this OS will not get updated. Android 13 is the final OS for this device specs. You know, the average person probably isn't gonna notice, but for $300, there is so much competition in this area. You can get a Redmi phone, an Apple phone, a Poco phone that has a way better chip in it, an 865. I think in some cases you can get like an 865 Plus, and you know, you can get all these different chips at Dimensity, and yeah, it's just way faster than this chip. That's something you should seriously keep in mind. Another thing you may want to keep in mind is the lack of wireless charging and lacks very fast charging. It only comes with 18 watts fast charging, and 18 watt fast charging is not a lot, especially in today's standards where 67 watt is basically the norm. Who am I recommending this for? This is for the elderly and basically no one else. Why? Because all those things I mentioned there don't really affect the elderly. Well, why don't I recommend this to kids? And the reason I don't recommend this to kids is because some of these things that I mentioned before do impact the kids' user experience. Kids do get impacted with battery life because yes, they're going on road trips. Forget to plug their phone in. You get impacted by the hardware because maybe they are playing Genshin Impact. I hope you enjoyed this review. If you did, don't forget to like and subscribe and check out my other review. Basically comparing the Google Pixel 4 and the Google Pixel 4a to check out which one is right for you. Okay, hope you enjoyed this video. I'll see you later.